Hi, welcome to the Your Voice Here podcast. This podcast is all about taking a fun and inspiring look at people's journeys into podcasting, radio presenting, being a voiceover artist, or whatever they're looking to use their voice for to be heard. My name is Jeremy Chapman, and I'm the host of this podcast. Joining me on today's episode is someone that's a radio presenter, a fashionista, a teacher, and an all-round bringer of joy and happiness. You may know her as Broke Dirty Blonde. I know her as Dolly. During this interview, we chat about all things hospital and community radio, about being kind, and just in general have a wonderful natter. Before the interview, I actually found out that Dolly's a member of the Lamal fan club, as in Lamal Kajagoogoo fame, and this interview could have become a never-ending story had Dolly not had a train to catch. Dolly, fantastic to have you here on the Your Voice Here podcast today. I think we're going to cover a lot of ground today on the podcast because you've done a bit of community radio, hospital radio, and you're head teacher as well. Let's start really with community radio and hospital radio. Tell me a little bit about that with your experience of community radio and what sort of thing you were doing.
Okay, well, it all started in 1999 in East London. I decided I was going to do a Spanish class because I had sort of ideas of El Dorado in my head, and I was thinking, I think I could go out and I could live in Spain, but I need to know a little bit of the lingo. So I started an evening class, and on my way out of the class one afternoon, I noticed a sign that said, "You interested in, being a DJ?" I think that's what it was. Right. Obviously a radio presenter was what they meant, but and it was an open day at the Royal London Hospital, Whitechapel AM. As it was. So I headed down there that Saturday and ended up enrolling in a one-day course, which was brilliant. The first song I played in my first link was ABC's Look of Love.
Great track.
Honestly. And while I was on this day course, so we were down in the basement of the Royal London Hospital next to where the skeleton of the Elephant Man resided at that time.
Oh, wow.
And I was just aware, it was quite interesting. Anybody who's been involved in hospital radio probably understands the kind of characters that are often involved in hospital radio are interesting individuals. So I had spent the day with this group of people who, maybe not my people, let's say, and towards the end of the day, somebody swanned into the studio, and they'd come, it was another presenter who worked on the hospital radio station, and he'd come in, he'd left something behind from his show on the Thursday night, and as he walked past me, he said, "I'm having you," and sort of tapped me on the shoulder, "You're going to come back." And so it was the person who became my hospital radio husband, Alex Grundon, who was presenting on Whitechapel AM at the time. So then I went along to his night, where he was just a fantastic, really inspirational presenter. So we co-presented for years together on hospital radio. So that's where it all began. And for me at that time, actually, it really wasn't much to do with it being radio, but to do with sort of socialising and just meeting a really nice group of people. Yeah. Our Thursday nights were a fantastic crew down there. So yeah, that was the beginning of it for me, really, and just working alongside mostly people who worked in media and just did this on the side. And I was a newly qualified teacher, so for me it was just complete escapism and learning how to drive a desk, and that was really exciting. But actually, more than anything, just being heard.
Yes.
In the first instance, that was the kind of vanity project in me. It was just like, I just wanted to hear my own voice, literally. And
as all radio presenters will start off.
Absolutely.
They might like to say otherwise. No, it's just so they want to hear their voice.
Yeah.
That's
but I think what I learnt, not that you've asked, but I'm going to tell you, what I learnt in those early days was just how much hard work it is and actually how much prep goes into shows.
Yeah.
And just that engagement with the listener was so important. In those days, we'd go up onto the wards, with our little mobile radios to hand them out, get requests from people, get them live on air, have competition, really ill people.
Yes, yeah.
And we'd be up there going, "Do you want to win a teddy bear? Do you want to win a baseball cap?" Not really, no. But you do. So it was great fun. It was great fun. And again, just it gave me, I suppose, a validation to just realise that not everybody can communicate. Mm-hmm. And so just to sort of like hear your voice and people respond to it, and to have also a connection with somebody you present with, was just a really fantastic thing for me. And I suppose it started for me a lifelong relationship with this other presenter, Alex, who we're still really good friends, but also just a real appreciation of what goes into broadcasting and the hard work. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Did it for years.
Well, I did a bit of hospital radio as well, over at Stoke Mandeville Hospital Radio. And unfortunately, because of lockdown and everything like that, we couldn't go around the wards. And that was one of the real appeals for me, because I did a request show. And I thought, to know that someone's listening in the ward and you're sort of providing with a voice or a bit of company or to a bit of a chuckle, a bit of entertainment, whatever, it felt good. But you felt a little detached from that. And it's a real shame.
And actually, that's a really interesting... I mean, I stopped doing hospital radio sort of long before that, but the bit for me when the piece of the puzzle started to go was once they introduced like televisions onto, where people had their own like console where they had their televisions, mobile phones, and they had radio stations. Actually, we were competing with those with those things, and people weren't listening to hospital radio so much. No. And for us, initially, I thought, no, we've got enough. This motivates me enough. But you don't realise it is an exchange of energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I feel the minute that you felt like, actually, I don't know that we're really broadcasting to anyone. It's not enough just to have your voice out there. You need it to be heard and to have some feedback on it as well. So I think actually it's really interesting. I've not really thought about it since then, but I think that's for us was when we started to lose our motivation, because we honestly felt that it maybe wasn't reaching the audience that it needed to reach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy, we needed to be heard. That's the bottom line, isn't it? And nobody was hearing us.
No, and to me, hospital radio is a great platform to go and learn, and to learn driving the desk. I've discussed desk on other episodes, but in case anyone's not aware, the desk is your whole control panel, basically feeding everything in, and
it's like a massive spaceship.
Yeah. Well, I called it the space deck. Basically, it was just everything on there. It was quite daunting at first, but it's a great experience to get used to it. And hospital radio often gets donated a lot of equipment that comes from BBC studios, so it's up to date, really good high tech equipment. And I think hospital radio, get it while you can. In other words, if you want to have a go at radio and you've got a hospital radio station near you, go for it, because they've got all the right equipment to get into it. Just don't expect many people on wards to be listening to you, because like you said, there's so much. There's TVs, mobile phones, iPads. Everyone's got their own entertainment now, and I think that does really put the possible end for hospital radio as a whole. Because what's the point of it, really?
I know,
in a weird kind of way, it seems sad, but it's that is the point.
It's so interesting you saying that, because high tech, we had reel to reels as well when I first joined. It's like, and vinyl. I mean, we moved then to CD, and then things were on the system. But I almost, where I joined sort of the tail end of the 90s. It's like we were already quite antiquated at that point. Yes, and so then there was sort of a big, because it's run by volunteers, so it's people in their free time, and they're really passionate people. But
real radio enthusiasts.
Actually, it rides on the goodwill of people, doesn't it?
Yes. Oh, with volunteers and good funding, well supported. I mean, Stoke Mandeville Hospital Radio was a great radio station to volunteer for, because you could see it was very well run, really professional. But like you say, there was just a real mix of people that were volunteering. Not people you'd really think would be radio presenters, but they still had a love of radio. But they were city traders, or they just retired and they carried on wanting to do it. It reminded me almost of almost more of a radio club, like a sort of remote aeroplane flying club, or that sort of thing. It wasn't just radio; it was more of a club kind of thing.
And I would say there was definitely an element of that in our crew. A really interesting group. I wouldn't like to say waifs and strays, because that sounds like, but people that you just think, you maybe don't have many places where you fit in. And we definitely, our radio station attracted people that perhaps didn't fit in many other places. And this space allowed them, often people with a really, good knowledge of, specific knowledge of music and can date. I mean, I'm really embarrassed to say that you didn't know Sheena Easton's album that's here right in front of us, Take My Time, which I'm sure many listeners will be aware of. You dated it as 1981. Anybody who's been involved in hospital radio... Oh, no, you dated it as 84, actually, sorry.
Yeah, I should have known it was 81 because that was around the time of For Your Eyes Only as well. So I should have.
You should have. I'm really, yeah.
As a Popmaster champion, I've let myself down. So yeah, I'm disappointed in myself.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all. Then job done.
Yeah, I'm going to give myself a damn good thrashing after this. Don't worry.
I won't. I'll be back on my way to the train station at that point. So I'll leave you to your thrashing.
You'll hear the howls. Why did I know it was 81? That kind of thing.
But one part of hospital radio that I did really enjoy was not just that interaction on the wards. Also, like I said, learning from presenters who are far more experienced than me, and just watching them at work, watching them be able to pick up a thread and, make really interesting talk out of it. And obviously having to be slightly mindful in a hospital about the things you talk about, because, obviously people are often not at their best, let's say.
Did you have a playlist that you couldn't play? Well, was there a list of songs that couldn't be played? So I remember on my first day going for volunteering and asking questions, they went, okay, here's the list, like Stairway to Heaven. Okay, yeah, I understand that one. And The Drugs Don't Work. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
And there were a few on there. I was like, okay, I'm not sure about that one.
And there's also a couple now, I can't think of them, so I may have to sort of go back and refer to Dr. Google in a moment. But there was one that you sort of don't realise until it plays. And suddenly in the middle, you think, oh, God, this isn't good. So we used to have, it wouldn't be a playlist, but we would have, at 8 you play a country track. Then at 8:15, you play an A-list. And it was just hilarious. And there was one country track, and it was about somebody who was in a car accident. It was a female's name. And the whole song was about this friend, dying in a car crash. And, every time we'd play it, we need to remember that we can't play this one. Why does it keep coming up on the system? Yeah, and that was quite... Tell Laura I love her. That's what it was.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Tell Laura I love her. Yeah. So actually, I think he was dying in the crash. Yes, and Laura was his
It's still
beloved.
a tragic tale.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's so many songs that you don't realise do have those tragic tales too. So you've got to be so careful. But as we've highlighted, there's a lot of people on wards that weren't even listening anyway, so they wouldn't have been that offended.
But one element that I did really, really like of hospital radio was because I was a teacher, obviously the station director thought, hey, I know what, we're going to start a kids show and you're going to do it. So, so I started a kids show. That was hard work. And also it was on a Saturday afternoon and I just really that didn't work for me. So I can't work out whether it was a dynamic of doing radio with kids. They were always really enthusiastic, quite shouty though, quite shouty.
Yes, yeah.
But also I just didn't want to dedicate a Saturday afternoon. I'm all for volunteering, but not on a Saturday. No, I needed to go to Topshop Oxford Circus.
There's always other things to be doing on a Saturday, aren't there?
As you mentioned, fashion's, important, isn't it?
Yeah, well, for me, not so much. Football is important. I like the football results on a Saturday.
But again, you would have struggled with a Saturday show, football.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had 20 years in the motor trade and I missed my Saturdays and Sundays. So now they're really sacred.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
someone said, do you want to do something on Saturday? No, I really don't. Saturday's my day.
I've had 20 years of doing things on Saturdays. I don't want to do it.
No. Having to be tolerant to customers that were coming in at 5 to 5, trying to make me ridiculous offers on cars that I just bid them good day. Now, you're mentioning teaching. How long have you been teaching for? So
I've been teaching for 25 years. So I started my teacher training the day after, or 2 days after Princess Diana died. So, you can date it quite... quite well there, 97.
Well, I can mute myself, so it doesn't matter.
Please don't.
Okay,
please
fine.
don't. The interaction's important.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, I've been teaching in East London since 97, really. Qualified in 98, but there you have it. It's been a long road and a job that's changed massively, but I've had a really lovely career, really enjoyed teaching. And now I'm a head teacher. It's also...
What did you start teaching though? What got you into teaching? What made you take that step?
So I finished when I graduated, I did a history and German degree, and then I graduated, had no idea what I wanted to do. I just wanted to come to London, so I was in London, and First job I actually got was in the Windmill Club on Great Windmill Street in Soho, which is a world famous strip club.
Yes.
As a
I've
hostess.
Heard of it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine mentioned it once to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got a job there. And when I say hostess, I mean, the deal was that I was going to sit on the front desk. I don't even think I was allowed to take people's coats. I think it was just literally paying them in, stamping their hand. And so I was about to say I had my audition. It wasn't an audition. I had my interview with the lovely man in the Windmill Club. So he arranged to meet me at sort of 4 p.m. before hours. And I sort of was in thinking about, but I have got a degree, so I'm probably not going to be here for very long. And he sort of like just put one hand on my shoulder and he looked me in the eye and he said, my darling, once you hear the music, we open the doors, you hear the music, you are never going back. So what happened, I got that job. I was due to start on the Thursday night. And on the Thursday, I got an offer of another job in an artist's agency. So working for an illustrator's agent around the corner. So I had to go past the Windmill Club every day to go to work. Obviously, it would be shut, but when I'd leave work in the evening, it would be opening, and I'd always be really worried that he would see me and like get his big bouncers on me. So I'd started work in Soho. I'm going about a really long way of telling a short story, and I did a couple of years as an illustrator's agent, and everybody was just really posh that I worked with, and I just found it really, really difficult to sort of connect with lots and lots of people who had really different experiences to me and really different lives. And I just knew it wasn't a career for me. Mm-hmm. You know, I was enjoying it, and I was, you know, Soho was like really lovely and grubby still in the 90s, early 90s. It was, and I just felt like there's got to be something else. And literally one day I just thought, oh, do you know what, I really... You know, people think teaching's a vocation. Not in my... I remember just looking out the window. I thought, what have I really... I thought, I really loved primary school. I wonder if I could be a primary school teacher. And I mean, that was literally the moment of, I think I could. And so off I went and did my PGCE that September, obviously after Princess Diana died. And here I am. So it was no great vocation. It was just a case of, I think... I know I enjoy sort of the performance element of having an audience every day, you know, so you've got your hospital radio audience, you've got your class. It's, you know, what's not to love about it? So, yeah, off I went. And I have honestly really, really loved it. I've been so fortunate. I've worked in lovely schools with lovely families and in East London, which is a great place to sort of live and work. And here I am 25 years later.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And head teacher now.
Yes.
It's funny that the radio and the teaching sort of things are sort of so intertwined, because I nearly went into teaching. I was looking at it. I suddenly, same as you, I suddenly thought, I wonder if I could be a teacher. And there was suddenly that advert on TV that said, have you thought about teaching? And it was like a sign. And I thought, well, I'll have a go. I found, though, for me, I didn't have a degree. So it was a bit of a lot slower pace for me. And I just thought, I just want to get in there. Yeah. Same for you. I wanted an audience every day. Yeah. I wanted to help kids to sort of put back in, really. I did a bit of football coaching. That sort of helped a bit. And then I carried on doing what I'm doing with podcasting and radio. But I get the occasional opportunity to work with kids with podcasting. Yeah. And that just sort of covers both areas for me quite nicely. It's as much as I probably want to do in teaching now. I don't think I'd have the patience to go into it now. I'd still maybe love to. I don't know. I'm not selling myself, but I wouldn't have the patience. Yeah.
But I think, I mean, it's a job that's changed massively. Yeah. You know, I'm glad I was a teacher when I was a teacher, because it was great fun. And I think that the role has really, really changed, which obviously if you're a young person going into teaching now, you won't know any different. So it's, you know, it's a hard job, but it is hugely rewarding, as you said, really, really rewarding. And I don't regret it for a minute. And, I think part of it, again, a bit like I said earlier with the hospital radio, it's about connecting with people, and you do that exchange of energy, you know, day to day. It does fuel you if that's how you're kind of built. Yeah. And so, yeah, I've massively enjoyed it. But I'm also sort of looking forward, you know, and I might look into the future of other things I can do as well. I'm a big believer in, I don't think anything is a permanent state. And I think there will always be change, and that's really exciting. So who knows?
Well, I always ask my guests, we normally chat about where they've been, what they're doing now, and where they'd like to go. Where would you like to see yourself going?
So it's interesting. I'm probably either going to like style like Lady Gaga or, Harry Styles, or probably have my own chat show. So either of those would be fine.
I would say that
if I could combine the two, that would be even more incredible. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I've always loved broadcasting and talking and connecting with people. But like you said, I think that there is something deeper in it, and I think it is something around helping people to find something. I think I really love doing that. So who knows what's out there.
Well, I can see that with your Instagram. It's really engaging. Your videos you put on are always really engaging because you're prepared to laugh at yourself first.
Self-deprecation is absolutely essential.
Well, I think it is because that's something we can all relate with because we're all going through something, and I think it's important to make it relatable when you're talking to people because I'm a massive fan of Ken Bruce. I don't hide that fact, and I read an interview recently where he said my radio would always be engaging and relatable. In other words, I wouldn't talk about what new car I'd got. I wouldn't even talk about when I get home today, I'm going to go and do my gardening because someone might not have a garden. And it's important.
Absolutely.
And I get that with your throughout you. I'm not just with your Instagram. Having now met you in the flesh as well, I'm just point out we're both in the same room today. Normally interviews are done remotely, but we thought we'd do it in the same room.
Why not?
Why not experiment? It's still all done on.
You've already played with my muff.
So. I have. I've already pulled your muff down to ensure that you sounded
full
okay.
coverage.
Full coverage. But I think it's all about being relatable to people and real, and you're a very real person. That really comes across.
And I think that's what I'd not heard that about Ken Bruce, but that's something I'm really mindful of. Is because I think I'm also quite sensitive to it in other people. When you've just got to be careful of treading that line between showing people something maybe they haven't experienced and not bragging or
being too self-righteous.
Yeah. And I think part of it is. I try to do things. I try to find the joy in the everyday, in the small things, in the cheap things, because that's honestly how I live. Mm-hmm. That's really nice to know that you noticed it. Thank you very much.
It's natural. You can see that, and it's not that kind of sincerity. You can't falsify. You can't hide. You can't put it on. So I think it's I noticed that, and I thought it was important to mention my hero Ken Bruce. I thought it's something I could really relate to. That. It comes across with everything that you do. I'd love to have heard you on hospital radio. You mentioned that you did a bit of community radio as well.
Yes.
Now, when did you do community?
So I did community radio during lockdown with a friend, and that was a really lovely way to connect and to spend some time with a friend during lockdown. With the excuse of doing some broadcasting, but we really enjoyed that, and because that was mostly sort of music shows, as opposed hospital radio was a lot of talk and some inappropriate country music in between in between our links, but this was a lot of music, so that pushed me quite a lot because I'm also aware in radio there are people like your good self who are very knowledgeable about music, and so that pushed me a little bit more to really explore different sort of genres of music, and but that I really, really enjoyed. But we just did it during lockdown because again we were having to produce and edit all the shows ourselves, so it was a lot of work as well.
No, I think there's a lot of work behind community radio. I found that out when I did a bit. Certainly for me, lockdown did the same thing. Was broadcasting from home, but I found my knowledge of music, it grew because I realised that there is a lot of work in putting on a show, not just turning up and making sure that you get your timings right, so you're not talking halfway over the news or an ad break or something, but also you're wanting to give a really good show for people, an entertaining show. So I'd mix it up with a lot of songs that were in the charts at the time, with songs that perhaps people had heard of the artist but hadn't heard the song, and that helped my music knowledge grow as well because. Well, I was a chancer, really. I was pretending that I knew this song. I just heard it the other day, and I'd play it and think, well, there we go. And then it just gave me that thirst for knowledge to go, okay, well, rather than just hearing it on the radio, how about I do just go and explore? And I put the work in just to find out more about other artists, because it was just, I felt I had a duty as a presenter for the listener, because I wanted to give them a really engaging show without being too, hey, I know my music kind of stuff.
And I think also sort of on top of that, it was almost sort of following the arc of the hour or the 2 hours, however long you have. It's not just a case of playing songs that either you love or songs that somebody else might love. It's about really following an energy through a show and you know, building up. You know, it's a bit like a DJ set, you know, where it's not just kind of banger after banger. No. It's like it tells a story, and actually it should thread through your narrative of your show as well. You know, and I found that really interesting, because I thought it's that whole creative process where you're really looking at what you want to say, how you want people to feel
at that time of day in the evening. What are they doing? I was always thinking about what would people be doing at that time of day.
You mucky pup. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'd ask
Hello.
them, what are you up to?
What are you wearing? Yeah.
It had to be, you know, at that point, they wanted something that, and I used to use the ad breaks as the transition. So you could sort of, I made sure that when I came back from a break, there was a nice song that just would make people's ears prick up and go, oh, and suck them back in again. It was.
But again,
the journey is so important.
Are we following that same thread that I spoke about earlier with hospital radio? Again, is it any coincidence that then the next time I was involved in radio again was during lockdown, when again you almost a bit like hospital radio, where your the audience were almost like, you know, sitting ducks. They had nowhere else to go. But so you felt again a little bit like, I felt like we were providing a service during sort of extraordinary times, and that felt good as well. I don't think it was a conscious thought, but just now reflecting on it as I'm talking to you about, I suppose, my journey with, you know, in broadcasting, what's motivated me, maybe not realising that that's what was happening underneath it all. Yeah, you know, it is about providing a service, isn't it? And I think being able to communicate, being able to empathise, and being able to bring people in and make them feel that it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, what you're wearing. It doesn't actually matter, but you want to feel at home and part of this intimate group. And I think radio at its best is that, isn't it? Where you listen, and it's not, I don't like that kind of zoo radio feel of like, this is a gang, we've got a load of in-jokes. That's not, to me, that's not good radio, but it is really making it, you feel that you're part of something, and that they're talking to you, and they are really making a connection with you, even though they're, you know, miles away. And even if the music isn't music that you favour, I just think there's nothing nicer than just thinking, actually, God, I really like that track, and I'm going to jot that one down in my notebook. Yeah.
Oh, a good DJ does. They educate you as well. They take you on their journey with them. And that, the point you just made there, if you felt that they're talking directly to you, that again is something I always feel, is that good presenters do that. They're talking to you, and they're taking on a nice musical journey. They are serving you, the good presenters.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names of presenters that I struggle with, but I feel that they're just talking at you and almost saying, you are going to like this, because I liked this. It's that kind of thing. Whereas the other presenters, they're sort of like this, do you like this? You know, it's like, you almost want to go around their house because you know they'll be great hosts. And they'll sort of take you around.
Which ultimately is what it is. And again, actually, I'm really struck by what you said, Ken Bruce said, because I think it is thinking about that empathy in you know, the broadcaster's message, in just those tiny things that they might say, like you said, assuming that everyone's got a car, or, you know, washes their car on a Sunday morning, or has a garden, or you know, and I'm even aware of that when I'm posting on my Instagram, is, you know, I cycle everywhere, but I'm also really aware, you know, some of the families that I teach look at me and they feel really sorry for me. You know, they've said, don't you have a car? Like, you cycle everywhere, but you're the head teacher. And I say, oh, no, I don't have a car. It's fine. But I feel amazingly privileged to be able to cycle because I think, you know, I'm fit enough that I can do it. My body allows me to do that, because so many people can't, you know, or that I grew up, I was taught how to cycle, and that was just part of childhood. And therefore, so as an adult, that's not a problem for me. I'm confident enough to get on a bike and take off, but I'm really aware to not do it in a preachy way, because you think, actually, this isn't accessible to everybody.
No.
I want to encourage people to do it because I think it's great, but actually you have to also be sensitive to the fact that some people just are never going to be able to do that for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so just making sure that you feel that you are even acknowledging that. It doesn't mean that I have to provide everybody with different options, but it's just saying, look, I know that this might not be for everybody and this might be out of your reach for whatever reason, but I love doing this. And, I really believe in it. And if you can, just do it or try it or, get a friend to do it or find something else that might give you that same kind of, fulfillment. So I'm that empathy. I'm going to take that with me from this because I think that's really, really important. And I think some people just do it naturally.
Yeah.
Or just have got that emotional intelligence to think about,
To read a room, really, to adapt with different people. That empathy and gratitude, I think, you saying with gratitude is such an important thing of, well, I'm quite grateful for what I have got, actually, and that's okay. And it could be worse, but I'm grateful for what I've got.
Yeah.
And I'm not desiring, I'd like to, I have ambition and maybe drive to have more, but I haven't got that. It's not a need kind of thing. It's just that I'm grateful for where I am at the moment.
Yeah. And actually, I'm going to make the most of where I am right now. It doesn't mean you're not going to aspire to more if you want to.
Yeah, of course.
But actually, sometimes it's quite nice to just be in the now and quite satisfied with where you're at.
Yeah.
And that's no bad thing sometimes.
No. Helps you sleep at night, helps you be a good, kind, caring person.
I hope so. I really do hope so. But I feel I want to bring up something because you might not know that I was, I'm hiding my light under a bushel because I was actually the BT Hospital Radio Awards.
Oh, wow.
Female Presenter of the Year.
Wow,
I was gold.
You've kept that.
I know.
I think that shows your humility there.
However, I'm perhaps the only person who, I think the first award I got was gold. Then I think I was silver, and then I think I was bronze. Like I don't think it was year on year, but I think I did it in that order, and then I stopped entering. Now I'm from Northampton, and I think Northampton Town, the Cobblers, might back in the 80s have been like the only team that went from sort of like the lowest division. They went all the way up and then all the way back down.
Again.
What's the word that I want to say? Concurrent seasons.
Concurrent seasons. Concurrent seasons.
So literally they went up and promoted and relegated. But in like one season after another. I mean, somebody will be able to fact check that for me, but I'm sure it's pretty accurate anyway. So I feel a little bit like that. I started off in gold and then I just worked my way down.
You went in high at start and then just let everyone else have a go.
I'm pretty sure when I get home, I'm going to find, because I've got
have you still got the trophies?
Oh my God, of course I've got them. They're really heavy glass shields, I guess, but like really, and I think the irony is I think the bronze one is the biggest. I'm sure the gold one's quite understated, but they're all glass. BT Hospital Radio Awards went to Slough. One of the years
Lavish.
yeah, I mean, we slept over. We slept over in a hotel.
In one of the nice ones, the Copthorne, would it have been?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. It was. It was. But we paid money to go there. It was. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
It was pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. So just so you're aware who you're talking to.
Well, we've got an award-winning radio presenter with us today. I didn't realise that.
Do you want to re-record the intro? I might do. We can do that. It's not a problem. I've got plenty of time.
I think with Dolly, we're running out of time now. You have got a train to catch, but I could chat to you for hours.
At least 5 more minutes.
Yeah. And I feel like when this conversation started, we've gone from just a podcast guest to now I feel like I can now call you someone I know. So, I feel like...
I'm delighted, Jeremy. Thank you.
Someone I've chatted to. So this has been a real... No, Dolly, our time is running out. I've had wonderful fun. Thank you so much. When my listeners want to find out more about you, and they should, because I haven't actually even touched on your Instagram and your wonderful posts and your incredible fashion sense, and just I'm envious. And I have to say, actually, you're a bit of an inspiration to me to have the confidence to do my videos. Is that I always think, what the fuck does someone want to sit through a video of me talking for? And actually seeing you do yours and laughing at yourself and saying...
And thinking, why the fuck would anybody want to sit through that?
Because you laugh at yourself because to say, here's a video that no one's asked for. Or that kind of stuff. It's that self-deprecation. I just thought it's so beautiful because it is.
But it is because I think everybody at the moment is doing this bullshit of going, I am worthy of, you know...
From such an entitled position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not manifesting anything.
No.
I haven't got a mood board. I haven't got a vision board. I've got no idea where I'm going. I'm aimless. So what I do is I post /play/wear what I want to. And again, it's going back to what you said earlier. It's about that authenticity because, you know, and it doesn't matter. If nobody else particularly likes it, I liked it. So I'm not going to ever look back and say, oh, God, I wish I hadn't done that. Because I will know that everything I did because I wanted to. And bloody... bugger off if you don't like it. Don't watch it if you don't like it.
Exactly.
I'm saying that to you. Don't watch it if you don't like it.
No, okay, all right. I won't.
Just stop watching me.
But it's being yourself. And I think that's the point I was trying to get to, really. I went around it in a terrible way, really. Was saying, you know, what's yours? And I think, well, if you can do it, I can do it. No.
Yeah. But do you know what, though? That's the awful thing is, as a child growing up, I'm the youngest of 5, and we all... well, you know, like things like The Railway Children would come on, films like that, or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and people come and watch this. Myself and my siblings would just like hate watching anything. Like, why don't you? Anything with other children in it. And we unpicked why we hate it. It's because we just sit there thinking, I could do that. Yeah. I could do that better. Why are they doing it? I could do that. So we refused to watch any films with children in, any programs with children in, because it's like we just knew we could do better. So if you feel that when you watch my videos, then go out and do better.
Well, that was always my view on when I did community radio. Is I'd try and say to people, you know, if you want to have a go at doing this, if you're sitting shouting at an inanimate object, saying, "I could do that," well, put your money where your mouth is.
Come and do it.
Sign up, have a go. Just have a go. I think it makes life a better place because there's nothing worse than these people sitting there going, "Oh, I could do that," and then they don't actually take that step to do it, and then they're just going to be full of self-loathing that they'll take out on other people. So this was a very long way of just trying to wrap this up. But
I've just got one thing to extend it. It was a friend of mine. He goes to the Emirates to watch Arsenal regularly, and there's a man that sits, I think, 2 seats to the right of him, and a very big kind of North London geezer who sits in front. And it was during a match where Arsenal had been losing, and so there was this guy was swearing, cursing the players, like really loudly, and it all throughout it. Then at some point, as they do, Arsenal then started to win right at the end. So when they scored, this guy who'd been moaning through the match went to stand up and cheer, and the big guy in front of him turned around, pushed him back down in his seat and said, "No, you don't get to celebrate," because he'd been slating the players for the whole. So, you know, I kind of like that. You don't get to, unless you get, you know, as you said, put your money where your mouth is.
So I'm sure the listeners would love to find out more.
I'm sure they would.
What's the best way they can find out more about you?
If you would like to put a face and a body to the voice,
they will.
They will.
They will.
They absolutely will.
No.
Yeah.
There's radio bosses listening to this going, we need these two.
We need to see what do they look like?
What do they look like? They sound great. So, wow.
Yeah. So you can...
Double threat. And then they hit the talent as triple threat, and then our singing voices. We haven't even started on that. It's just non-stop. Bucketfuls of talent here.
Exactly. So you can find me, the best place to find me is Instagram, and my name on there is Broke Dirty Blonde. So come find me. Give me a follow. See what you reckon.
We shall put all the links in the show notes, so
please do.
The listeners will come and check you out. But Dolly, thank you so much for your time today. This has been such a joy. Thank you for joining me on the Your Voice Here podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much to my guests for joining me today here on the Your Voice Here podcast. If you'd like to find out more information about what we discussed on today's episode, along with finding out a bit more about our guest, then check out the show notes for more details. And of course, thank you to you, the listeners, for tuning in. It's greatly appreciated, and it's nice to know someone's actually listening to me. If you'd like to find out more about Your Voice Here, again, check out the show notes. If you'd like to get in touch, then you can email hello@yourvoicehere.co.uk. We'd love to hear from you. Now, before every interview, I try and warm up every guest by doing a quick fire question round. It acts as a nice way to get them laughing, warming up their vocal cords, and just to relax them a little bit. Give it a try if you're a podcaster. Free tip, there you go. I did think though, what shall I do with all these quick-fire question rounds that don't really make it into the podcast? Well, why not just bolt it onto the end and see if listeners like it? I hope you enjoy it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to you joining me next time. Take care. But anyway, we've got some quick questions, and we're going to try and do this in under a minute if we can. Are you ready?
Always.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Favourite film?
Magnolia.
Great choice. Tame. Yeah. One word that would describe you?
Eclectic.
If you had to have a tattoo of a famous person's face, who would it be?
Madonna.
And where would you have it?
Probably on my, in between my breasts, I'd say.
Christmas. Does it really get earlier every year?
No, can't come early enough.
If you could travel back in time and just see one thing, what would it be?
Live Aid.
Oh, yeah.
In the crowd.
Actually in the crowd, yeah. Always. Music choices, going to gigs. Seeing Elvis for me would be one. And then, well, if I had a time machine, I'd probably just go, where are you going tonight? I'm off to a gig.
Yeah.
Who are you seeing?
Studio 54. I mean, it's good that you don't give me time, because if I had time to think about these, I'm going, can I change that answer? Can I change it? But no, Live Aid, I'm going to stick with my first answer.
Good choice. Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
As a teacher, it was from my first head teacher, who said, just make every parent think you love their child, and then you will have a fantastic career. And it's so true.
That's great advice. Jaffa cake or biscuit?
Cake.
The last thing you ate?
A chocolate tea cake from Marks and Spencer's just this moment.
Delicious. Favourite theme park in the world?
I don't like theme parks.
Really?
Gulliver's Land in Milton Keynes is quite good, though.
That is a good choice. I love a log flume in there.
Me too.
Yeah. I was just about to say my next question. Favourite theme park ride? Log flume?
Definitely a log flume, always.
Favourite time of year?
Autumn.
A good night in?
Is that a question? Yes,
Yeah.
please. Do you want the components of a good night in? If you're asking.
It's an invite. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, all right, good. Yeah. Someone's finally answered the question correctly.
I agree.
What's your idea of a good night in? Let me ask that question again.
Idea of a good night in would be, it would be probably listening to radio downstairs in my kitchen, cooking a really lovely meal with my children, and just sitting and seeing fire in the garden. However, the reality of a good night in for me is just like sitting in front of Netflix and falling asleep.
Happiness exists everywhere, really, doesn't it?
It does.
That's the thing. And your idea of a good night out?
That would be probably sort of a techno event, and it would be an all-nighter with strangers.
How would you like to be remembered?
As just being really good fun and a right hoot.
Job done. Dolly, thank you so much.
Jeremy, cut it out.